Imagine looking up into the night sky and seeing not just the familiar glowing moon, but a second orb sharing its celestial dance. This scenario, while fictional for us, opens up a fascinating world of scientific speculation, storytelling, and exploration. What would our world be like if Earth had two moons? Would our tides crash differently against the shores? Would ancient myths shift with the change in the sky? And how would humanity adapt to a planet touched by two lunar bodies? To begin this journey, let's set a few ground rules for our story. Let's suppose the second moon is similar in size to our current moon, though not necessarily identical. For simplicity, we'll call our original lunar companion Luna, and her new sibling Selene, paying homage to the rich mythologies that have surrounded our solitary moon for millennia. Selene could be slightly smaller, orbiting a bit farther out than Luna, providing enough distinction for interesting dynamics without overshadowing the original. We might ask first, how would having two moons change Earth's tides? Our current tides arise from the gravitational pull of the moon, and, to a lesser extent, the sun. If Selene orbits farther than Luna and is slightly smaller, her pull on the ocean would be less dramatic, but still significant. Tides would now become a complex interplay between the two moons. Instead of the simple, predictable patterns we're familiar with, the timing, size, and shape of the tides would vary more widely. Some days, the gravitational pulls would reinforce each other, producing extraordinary high tides and correspondingly knee-deep low tides. Other times, they might partly cancel one another out, leading to more moderate tidal changes. The world's coastlines would thus become environments of even greater change and diversity. Beaches and coastal ecosystems would experience more extreme fluctuations in water levels, perhaps favoring creatures highly adaptable to wet and dry conditions, or driving the evolution of new life forms altogether. Human societies, historically drawn to the productivity of coastal environments, might develop new technologies and behaviors. Settlements would be built farther inland, or on pilings and platforms better able to withstand unusually high or unpredictable tides. Where tidal rhythms have guided fishing and agriculture for centuries, more complex calendars would arise to describe the sometimes chaotic dance of Luna and Selene. But tides are only the beginning. The presence of a second moon would have a profound effect on Earth's axial stability. The gravitational interplay between the moon and our planet stabilizes the tilt of the Earth's axis, which in turn regulates our seasons. With Selene tugging alongside Luna, the specifics get more complicated. The two moons might, collectively, provide even greater assistance in keeping our axis stable, perhaps ensuring long-term climate stability. However, if their orbits resonated in certain ways, there could be periods where their combined influence destabilizes the tilt for brief epochs, sending climate zones migrating across the globe, prompting evolutionary and cultural adaptations. Our nights would never be the same. Sometimes the two moons would share the sky, each in different phases. Perhaps Luna would shine full, while Selene appeared as a delicate crescent, or both would be gibbous, or only one could be seen while the other remained below the horizon. Nighttime darkness would be interrupted more often. With two full moons, nights could be nearly as bright as twilight. This extra illumination would have real effects. Many nocturnal animals, adapted to darkness, might struggle or even change in response, developing new behaviors or abilities. Ancient humans, without modern lighting, might find their activities and even their sleep cycles altered by the extra moonlight. Human culture would certainly be transformed. Consider how much one moon has inspired poetry, religion, myth, and science. With two moons, myths double. Every society would imagine stories of their origins, their battles, their roles as twins, siblings, or rivals in the sky. Ancient astrologers and astronomers, keenly observing the heavens, would track the complex patterns of these bodies, perhaps inspiring more advanced mathematics and more careful scientific record-keeping. Rituals and festivals keyed to the full or new moon would become more elaborate, accounting for the moments when both moons shine together, or when darkness finally prevails. Calendars would multiply, perhaps with systems reflecting the cycles of Luna, Selene, and their combined patterns. Our months, derived from the moon's orbit, might instead be organized around the interplay of both cycles, creating a far more intricate method of marking time. Let's peer into the realm of language and art. Each moon would likely have its own set of metaphors. For lovers gazing at the heavens, one moon might become the symbol of distance and longing, while the other signifies companionship or contrast. Painters, poets, and musicians would infuse their works with double the lunar inspiration, and the cycle of art and storytelling would pulse to the rhythm of two moons. Historically, navigation by moonlight has aided explorers on both land and sea. With two moons, nights would be brighter more often, mostly helpful, unless the complex orbits led to confusing shadows or alternating brightness. Mariner legends might tell of the dual moon's guidance, or perhaps of the rare dangerous nights when both moons vanish from view, plunging travelers into inky darkness. Step into the realm of science. Astronomers, watching the interplay of the two moons, would notice subtle clues about the laws of gravity and motion. From the ground, eclipses would become even more spectacular. Imagine a lunar eclipse where, depending on orbital alignments, both moons pass into Earth's shadow, or one eclipses the other, a rare moment where their overlapping bodies dance across each other, casting strange shadows and glowing halos into the sky. Solar eclipses, too, would acquire new forms, as either moon could pass before the sun, sometimes even both in quick succession. Perhaps the extrasolar moon, Selene, formed out in the early chaos of the solar system, captured by Earth's gravity, or born from the same debris that formed Luna. She might bear the craters and scars unique to her own history, unlike the familiar gray-white face of our natural satellite. Over millennia, both moons would imprint their own character into the myths and imaginations of every culture on Earth. The effects wouldn't be limited to the natural world or to the distant past. Consider what this would mean for the dawn of space exploration. With two moons, our appetite for reaching out into space might be increased as we set our sights on visiting both lunar bodies. Perhaps the first human footprints on another world would be on Selene, not Luna, depending on orbital proximity and the specifics of their composition. Scientific missions would multiply, as each moon's geology and history would offer different lessons about the birth of the solar system. Would Selene have different minerals, different water deposits, different promise for the resources that, in our world, have only begun to be explored on Luna? Mining operations, bases, and even settlements might one day dot the surfaces of both moons, each providing a unique laboratory for science and a potential launching point for deeper exploration into the solar system. But what about the dangers? The complex gravitational relationship between Earth, Luna, and Selene would create orbital instabilities over vast timescales. In the distant future, interactions could nudge one of the moons into a collision course with the other, or with the Earth itself, an apocalyptic scenario that would have threatened life at some point in Earth's history. Alternatively, gravitational tugs from other planets, amplified by the presence of two moons, might eventually eject Selene from the Earth system, launching her out into the solar system as a wandering planetoid, leaving Earth with just one moon after millions of years of a double-moon sky. Let's return to the human implications. In a world lit by two natural satellites, psychological effects abound. Lunar cycles have long been associated with moods, behaviors, and even madness. The word lunatic is a legacy of this connection. With a second moon, the rhythms of the human psyche could entwine with those of Selene, producing new beliefs in dual influences, new superstitions, and perhaps new medical and psychological investigations. Charting the alignments and oppositions of Luna and Selene might become part of personal and social rituals, much as horoscopes are for astrology in our world. Now imagine how religions might develop. The sky, ever a canvas for the stories of the divine, would be richer than ever. Twin deities might be imagined, each with unique attributes, one gentle, one fierce, one representing night, the other twilight. Or perhaps two faces of the same goddess, forever chasing each other across the sky. Temples might be oriented not only to the sun and Luna, but to the rare times when both moons rise or set together, or when their paths cross unexpectedly. In this context, the symbolism of the number 2 would permeate architecture, art, and sacred geometry. Cathedrals, palaces, and entire cities might be designed to mark the double full moon or to harness the unique moonlight of their conjunctions. Ancient philosophers and scientists, inspired by the cycles of the two moons, would build their models of mathematics, time, and the cosmos on the resulting complex harmonies. The drive to understand and predict the patterns in the heavens would grow all the more urgent and sophisticated. There are also the small, personal changes that would touch daily life. Farmers, watching for the right moment to plant and harvest, would devise intricate rules based on the shifting interplay of lunar cycles, perhaps even more accurate or complex than those used today. Lovers, poets, and philosophers would use the variety of nighttime illumination for metaphor and mood, each choosing their own moon to write by. Parents might comfort their children under the gleaming watch of two lunar guardians, each seeming to protect the Earth in their own way. Let's imagine, too, the way this double-mooned world would appear to visitors from another planet. A spacecraft approaching Earth would see, instead of a lone satellite, a graceful diarchy orbiting our blue and white globe. The twin moons, their orbits intertwined, would mark Earth uniquely among the worlds of the solar system, a double beacon advertising our home to distant travelers. Now, shift perspective to the long timeline of planetary evolution. The parent body that gave rise to both moons, perhaps in a gigantic collision in the solar system's youth, would have scattered its debris far and wide. The story of the Earth-Moon system would be twice as rich, offering new riddles for astronomers, geologists, and astrobiologists to solve. Meteor impacts on one moon might send ejecta raining down onto the other, while the glow of simultaneous moonrises would shape the circadian rhythms of life on Earth in subtle, underappreciated ways. Consider as well the consequences for human timekeeping and science. In our world, the concept of the month is built on the moon's orbit. With two moons, calendars might be organized differently, perhaps based on the period when both moons return to certain positions relative to each other. Civilizations might define years, months, weeks, or festival cycles in countless innovative combinations, some long and intricate, others short and simple, built on the double rhythms above. Navigators, too, would find the night sky changed. Constellations, their boundaries and patterns, would be interrupted on certain nights by the glowing bodies of Luna and Selene. Star charts, passed down through generations, might carry notations for the interference of moonlight, with certain stars only visible during rare dark nights, or when both moons are new. With the complexity in the sky, early astronomers, those drawn to the patterns of the heavens, might make faster progress in understanding celestial mechanics. The need to track two wandering moons would require more careful record-keeping, and would, perhaps, spark mathematical and observational breakthroughs far ahead of their time. Now, step into the world of art, literature, and the human imagination. The man in the moon might have a twin. Lunar poetry would be a study in duality, contrast, and harmony. The symbolism of twins, so persistent in mythologies worldwide, would be ever-present. Great artists, inspired by the shifting combination of light and shadow, might paint nightscapes unavailable in any world with a single moon. Musicians might compose moonlit sonatas for double moons. Dancers and poets would celebrate the rare moments when both shine at once, or when they vanish together, surrendering the world to starlight alone. Stories of love and rivalry, protection and loss, would multiply, paralleling the paths of Luna and Selene through the sky. In some tales, the moons are lovers, forever chasing but never meeting. In others, siblings or rivals, each jealous of the other's place in the heavens. In science fiction, worlds with two moons have long been settings for the fantastic. A reminder that even small changes in the night sky can open up new vistas of storytelling and discovery. But let's not forget the deep, practical implications. Modern science tells us that the moon's gravity has played a great role in Earth's habitability. The steadying hand of a massive satellite has kept our axial tilt, and hence our climate, relatively stable over geological timescales. What would be the effect of two moons? Some simulations suggest greater stability. Others hint at subtle instabilities, rare catastrophic events where orbital resonances run awry. Over billions of years, the dance could become chaotic, leading to either a collision, an ejection, or some new equilibrium. Over deep time, the two moons would mutually influence their orbits through their shared gravitational tugs. They might sometimes pass close to one another, causing tidal heating in their interiors, sparking moonquakes, and creating spectacular volcanic eruptions when their orbits resonated closely. On the surface of the Earth, such events could lead to periods of stronger tidal activity, increased seismicity, and perhaps even the wild climate swings that drive evolutionary innovation. Finally, as we push further into the cosmos, the existence of two moons would enrich our scientific missions. Moon bases might be built on both Luna and Selene, with each offering unique challenges and opportunities. The view from the lunar surface would never be the same. The other moon, always present or appearing at intervals, would provide explorers with a constant reminder of their planet's special place in the universe. Astronauts stationed on one moon could look across space to see the familiar face of the other, rising and setting in the black sky, a beacon to explorers bonding civilization across the lunar divide. From the earliest myths to the forefront of scientific exploration, the story of an Earth with two moons pulses with possibilities. The sky becomes a more complex, more beautiful, and more mysterious realm. Our tides grow stronger and more unpredictable, our calendars more intricate, our myths richer and more layered. The trajectory of everything, from animal evolution to human culture, technology, and art, flows in the shadow and the light of not one, but two lunar companions. Such a world would never truly sleep in darkness. It would be a world where, nearly every night, some form of moonlight bathes the Earth, guiding and inspiring all who walk beneath the sky. That double blessing, wrought by the cosmic coincidences of planetary formation, would change us in ways both subtle and profound, reminding us always to look up and to wonder at the grandeur of the universe. As we imagine the Earth with two moons, what we are really doing is exploring the boundaries of possibility, of science, and of our own shared imagination. For in that vision, as in all thought experiments, we glimpse the infinite variety that the universe might offer, and the endless curiosity that drives us to understand the world and the sky in which we live.